All right, we're back. Judd'z Budz, episode 152. As always, our host, Spokesy, joined by my good buddy, Mr. At State of Hoppy. Actually, sorry, real quick, it's Gretzky plus Adam Beckman. Ouch. Hoppy, how we doing?
We're doing all right. You had to sneak that in?
I had no other option.
UFO man himself. No, so I got two funny things to lead in with here. First one, you remember my delightful, not at all insane neighbor?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she all right, Mateo first demerit, didn't stop the music. That's okay.
Love it.
So the other day, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, I don't know. A white truck pulls into her driveway, lays into the horn. She comes outside and just starts screaming back. And Laura's like, what is happening? She's texting the neighbor that's across the street from her and what is happening? And she's like, oh my God, I don't know. They're just yelling at each other. And apparently they were friendly in some sense. So then the truck decides to start backing down the driveway and they literally carve through her yard. So she starts yelling even louder. She gets in her car, whips out, parks in the middle of the damn road. And then they both open up their trunks and literally just start unloading a bunch of big paper bags from that truck into her car. Takes them a solid 5 minutes to even get it all coordinated. And then finally they drive off. I'm like, what is happening? And for those who don't know, this is the same lady who, let's see, the best stories that I shared with you, Z, were her rain management. She used to not have gutters and she would have big 5-gallon buckets lined underneath her house to catch them. And she'd be out there in the middle of the rain, going and dumping them out under a tree in front of her house. And we just sit there and watch through the window and laugh. My wife has it on video. I'll have to share that at some point. And the other one was she's out front on a legit, a normal, fold out V ladder, working on something above her front door. And she's wearing a bike helmet while she's doing it. And even better, I didn't tell you this, Z, but it's happened a couple times. And one of the times, her now husband, at the time, I don't know if they were engaged or what it was. And this is older folks, they're 50s, 60s. I don't even know for sure. He's sitting in a lawn chair watching her.
I love that.
It was so good. I'm like, holy shit, I want to pull out a lawn chair and go sit next to him and have a couple beers and just watch. But so there's insane neighbor update. Also, I am ashamed to say that I been on a trend and it was way too funny. I don't know. You don't go on TikTok at all, but are you familiar with how everyone has been ripping off the Not Like Us thing from the Super Bowl and just throwing different dance scenes over it and it always works?
No.
So apparently that's a trend and it keeps on popping up for me and it really pissed me off. And then finally I stopped. I'm like, what's something ridiculous that I could do? And I actually came up with something really good. It lined up perfectly. I even showed it to Laura and she thought it was funny. I'm like, whatever. I hate myself. I don't care. I'll post one. It literally in 12 hours has gotten 0 views. And objectively, it's a banger. I'm going to send it to you after this. You will laugh your ass off.
So, I thought you were about to say in 12 hours, it's 10 million.
Nothing. No. Literally, I refreshed several times. I even unposted and reposted because I'm something's glitched here. Still 0 views. 0. Not 0 likes. 0 views, which on TikTok I didn't think was possible. I didn't think it was possible. But it was a banger, dude. So the best dance scene that I've ever seen in a movie. Intro to Superbad.
Oh,
the black silhouette, just those two going back and forth. And when I tell you that it lined up so goddamn perfectly with the song, there was one part where I had to clip out 3 seconds in the middle of it just to make the back end line up perfectly. But dude, it 11 out of 10. And no one in the world will know besides you, me, and the few people listening right now. That's how I'm doing right now. I'm in like a weird spot of like, I'm buzzing because like I know it was a banger, but it's also very funny to me. I'm like, it's probably not going to do well, whatever. Zero.
How does
It's so impressive.
That's what I was actually to say now that I think about it. It's actually more impressive that you got literally 0 than it would have been if you like took off. It went viral or whatever. I don't really understand. I've never had TikTok, never will. All the good ones end up on fucking Instagram anyways. Don't care.
Rate up 0 still.
I
have it up.
Don't know how it works.
I don't know if you can see the screen. Yep. So like here on the screen, do you see that 0 there? Literally 0 plays. I've got one right next to it that's 50,000. I've got some that are a couple hundred, whatever. I have never, ever had a 0. And it's been up for a little bit. Like, this is the second posting of it, and it's probably been at least like 5 or 6 hours. 0. Not
Just
0 likes, 0 views.
Keep posting it, dude. Just keep going.
No, I'm leaving it now. I just did it at first because I'm like, there must be like a glitch or something weird that happened with this video getting caught up somewhere. Like, nope. It must just objectively be a terrible video. I don't know.
I do love that. Like, you're like, no, I know it's incredible, but there must be a glitch with the it must be the technology.
Not me. It's all of you.
It couldn't possibly be anything else other than TikTok fucked up.
I wish that you had watched it. I wish you had watched it so you could like support me on this. In fact, I'm just gonna text it to you right now. You don't need to watch it right now, but at some point, like there's gonna be a lull where like I'm talking and you're gonna watch it and be like, holy shit.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But yeah, that's all I'm doing. How are you doing?
Good now. That's incredible. That's really good news on that front. I don't know, man. Same old shit. Working too much, not sleeping at all. I was hanging out just casually at the Drop last night because one of my good friends works Sunday nights.
Do you ever hang out at the Drop not casually?
That's a good point. But like I basically am like I'm literally behind the bar at this point, just chilling. And like I don't know what it is about a not busy Sunday at the Drop. There was like the most amount of people that were in there while I was there must have been 15. And 3 people got kicked out. 2 people were so fucked up they were like falling off their chairs onto broken glass. I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? And my friend who's working was like, I've given that person 2 beers. And like, this is insane. One person like didn't understand like how opening a tab works. Like, she's like, you want to leave your tab open? She's like, yeah. And then so they went and put the card behind the bar. It's like the girl just goes, wait, like you keep it? And I couldn't help myself. I was like, not forever. Like it's like this is it. You're never leaving the Drop now once you open the tab.
I mean,
you can't go anywhere else. You're stuck here. It was ridiculous. I was like, I am so curious by how do you think this works? Also, have you been to a bar before? That being said, she was one of the people that fell off her chair. So like she went face first. But that was interesting. Eventually I was just like, it was early and still, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. This is insane. My other friend got who was there, she had been out all day with her friend, and we got her to fully commit without consulting her boyfriend to get a new puppy today. And it happened. And let me tell you, the boyfriend is pissed. It's like, she's like, she called him. She's like, I don't care what you say. It's happening. Bye. Like after she was all the commitment done, puppy in the house today. I was like, this fucking rules. I support this toxicity. I am all about this. And she was like, it'll be fine. I'll tell you what, I think it's gonna be a while before he's fine. But
yeah, that's fair. Wow, okay.
It was an eventful. I was only there for like a couple hours, like pretty early. Again, I got home at like 10. Like I just went after work or not after work. I was working yesterday. I wasn't supposed to be, but I was. And it was just like, again, there was maximum 15 people there, and it was like chaos from start to finish. And I don't know, but it happens all the time there on Sundays. Like it's insane. So I've just been like remembering different things from that and just like laughing all day. Like, how the fuck this place is fascinating. It really is. It is an enigma, Cole.
No, yeah. To Cole's point though, need to experience the enigma that is the drop someday. I've been there. It is something.
I'll never forget you asking one of the bartenders, like, what do you recommend? And he looked at me and goes, who the fuck is this guy? He's like, I recommend a fucking beer, bro.
You do understand that was very deliberate.
Oh, I know. It was so
like, I very much did it to be like, what's going to happen here?
This Eric behind the bars looks at me like the shock on his face. I was like, he's from Minnesota, bro. It's fine.
Just fucking with you, I swear. Hang on real quick, because I mean we might as well just round out talking about Dr. E. Nick. Jesus.
Banger after banger.
Cosgrove. Talking about beers, Bob Holst. I know you like rocking the IPAs, but I am a Milwaukee's best ice guy. Strong character and hoppy bite. At some point, I haven't done it yet, but Z, I'm going to go through and clip all of them. You've seen at least some, right, of the Will Ferrell Old Milwaukee Super Bowl commercials. It might be the greatest marketing campaign that we've ever seen. All the money went to Will Ferrell being in the commercial. The quality of the recording, garbage. Script writing didn't exist, but it's so good. They are all bangers, and I don't know why more people don't do commercials like that. Got to give a quick shout out, though. Our friends at Lupulin. Here is a beer from one of their past big beer weeks, but coming up next week, it's always the same, or at least of late, it's been the same week of the state tournament every year. They release over 50 different, like really strong, delicious dark beers. And they're also releasing the second iteration of Tourney Flow. That's right. We have another beer again.
That's big.
Beautiful can art from my wife. It's going to be slightly altered this time around, but got to give her credit where it's due. This is one of her finer pieces of work. Oh, also, Z, I don't know if you can see there.
Oh, wow. Yep.
That little symbol is there. Oops.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone needs to check out Big Beer Week. It's Sunday to Sunday. It's so what is that? I think the 2nd through the 9th sounds right. Yep. March. You guys can fact check me. It's probably pretty close. Cool. D, drinkability. A, amber, color of the beer. And then it goes to V, because they're spelling out Davenport. V, pass, I'll come back. E, no, wait, I got it. V, very amber. E, it's an everyman's beer.
We need more.
All right, we've officially gone fully off the rails. Let's just talk about something that's hockey related. You can lead off wherever you want. Or not to mess with Mateo on his first day doing full producing work. We'll just go in order of the outline here. Loose Four Nations NHL talk. I got to lead here, Z, with a fun one. Apparently, offspring of like star NHLers are thriving of late. There's the obvious with like Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. Biz Nasty famously said that Big Walt's sperm should be in the Hall of Fame. I love that for him. But we got a couple other ones. First one, and like this one obviously comes with the caveat that I think he would give this up to, have his dad back in a heartbeat. But Johnny Gaudreau Jr., it was his birthday, and he was at a Blue Jackets game, and the entire arena sang happy birthday to him.
Oh, that rules.
That rocks so goddamn hard. So shout out little Johnny Gaudreau Jr. Kid's going to be a rock star. And just imagine like later on in life, people being like, your dad was an absolute stud. He's like, was he though? And you show him that video of everyone serenading him as like a 1-year-old. He's like, okay, yeah, my dad must've been pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
But the other one, Z, did you see the total flub by Lazarus the other day?
No.
So like, and granted, for a Rangers fan, like I actually have no problem with Lazarus, his co-host on his podcast, maybe a different story, but like Lazarus is a cool dude. apparently he was on a call for something, and it was Ovechkin scoring. I don't know if it was the hat trick goal or which goal it was, but like Ovi obviously popping off. And Lazarus calls out, I think he posted it on Twitter or something. He says, wow, what a great memory for that kid that Ovechkin just skated over to. It was Ovechkin's son. Just incredible. Like,
I love Johnny. I love him.
He got ratioed pretty hard, which, like, good for him. Like, that's funny. Like, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, kids of stud NHLers are on the rise. Good for all of them. As if they didn't already have a lot going for them.
Yeah, now it's good to know that, you know, it's got something good going on for him. You know, before that, it was nothing.
Right. But all right, we can move past that. Let's talk about something a little bit less fun. I don't know, Z, are you up for doing your tweet read, or do we just want to sum up what happened between Akim Aliu and PK Subban?
I'll be honest with you. I saw the first tweet and I was like, this is the exact like Twitter thread that I want nothing to do with. Like, it's just shitty. And
the first tweet being what PK Subban said?
I guess Akim Aliu's response, like, but like just the conversation around it in general. I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. Like, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, that was the one thing, that whole situation was the one thing that really like could have really ruined the Four Nations for me. It like ruined a lot of like the tweets around the Four Nations tournament. Was just like and I get it. It's like, this is where we're at now, but like the political stuff, I was like, this sucks. I was like, can't we just fucking be happy for fucking like a week and a half?
No, but
it's unavoidable. That's the thing. That's what sucks.
But I think generally I would agree with you, but like, if I were a Canadian, I would be like pissed and lashing out against stuff. Like, everyone's like mad at them, like doing the anthem and stuff. Like, dude,
I don't give a fuck. Yeah.
If I lived in Canada and Donald Trump said that he was going to make me be his 51st state, like,
ridiculous.
I wouldn't react kindly. I don't know.
No, fuck no.
So like, I get it, but all right, we can leave it be, I guess. I know this makes Z uncomfortable, but basically PK Subban supported Trump. Akim Aliu told him how horrible of a person he is, and we can just move on from that. If you guys want to go check it out, there's plenty to be seen, and it's not hard to find. So we'll leave that to you guys. Yeah. We'll just move on. USA versus Canada. I don't know what specifically we want to get into here, Z, but obviously not the outcome we wanted. I think end of the day, though, we can all agree that the fact that the game went to overtime and like ended the way it did, like, still positive for hockey. Like, this is,
dude, it was
huge,
awesome. Like, and specifically, like, obviously I was not going to pay $1,500 fucking dollars to go to this game, but that barn was rocking. And I was out in Boston with some buddies who used to live out here who I haven't seen in a while. And we were just like going to different places. Every single bar down there was jam packed with the game on. And like, it was the same atmosphere. Actually, it was even better than like going down there for like Bruins playoff games. Like, and I mean, usually there's like a handful of bars that are really good for hockey games, like big hockey games, whatever. It was every single one, and it was insane. Like, it was so much fun. And like, yeah, oh yeah, any hockey game, like the collective BAC of TD Garden's out of control. Cause like I've said this before, TD Garden and craft beers, like, I swear to God, one is basically 12. I don't know how it happens, but like, you have like a couple of those like Bud Light pounders and you're like, Jesus Christ, I have waffles right now. But like, outside the bars, inside the bars, all down Causeway, and like even out towards Faneuil, like every single bar was packed full, all with the game on. And like, electric. And like it was like I love going to those. There's a couple of bars on them that are really good for watching hockey games, and like it's better than being in the building because it's just like out of control in the most fun way possible. Like it's not like you're like, Jesus fucking God, I don't like this is too much. Right. But like the fact that hockey had got such a big spotlight, I think was it over 9.5 million people, I think, watched that.
Wait, what'd you say?
I think the number was like 9.5 million or something like that, like viewers.
I thought it was like 16.5.
I don't know. Maybe that was like in America. I have no idea.
Sure.
But it was like just this tournament, which we were making fun of before because it's like a Four Nations thing, right? In the middle of the NHL season, whatever. Like we said this last week, immediately I was all in once the game started. And like the fact that the players were so into it is really what drove that. Obviously, like so much better than any All-Star weekend or like whatever other like World Championships. And like that's something like Dylan Larkin said too. He was just like, people should like players that have the opportunity to go play in the World Championships. Like obviously at the end of the season, if you're not in the playoffs, like players have like looked down on that tournament in general. But like it really felt like it actually got a foothold where like players are going to want to play for their countries. And it was just like electric start to finish. Like it was fun. And again, the game ended not great for the US, but like either way, it was a great game. And for Minnesota, we had every guy that showed up at that tournament, Sweden, USA, like they all performed. They got the big spot. Like we'll talk about the Detroit game and like the conversation like Messier, Levy, and PK Subban had about like the Wild players that were at that tournament. Mm-hmm. So that was great there. But like it was a home run, and the only negative was how many guys came out like legitimately like badly injured, which is fucking unbelievable. It's like, of course, we couldn't only have fun. Like it couldn't only be good. There was a couple like key players that had to fucking get like severely injured.
Well, so let's.
And by the way, Jordan Binnington, I give up. Like he owns me. He comes to TD Garden and breaks my heart every time. That's unbelievable.
I was gonna say, is there a player that you hate more than him right now?
The minivan man will always have number one spot in my heart. But I mean, it's just I can't even. I just can't talk shit about him anymore. Like he just shows up for these big games at the Garden. It breaks my heart in the worst way possible, and I hate him for it. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, fair enough, bro.
I mean, yeah, like good on him. Like the way everyone was talking about him too, like kudos. Mm-hmm. He did the thing. He looked awesome in that game, whereas he did not any other point of the tournament. You're still, if you're Canada, you're still very worried about goaltending going into the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess depends who's behind the bench. Like they could just get over the beef they have with Logan Thompson, you know. But either way, it's not the same level as the other. Yeah.
Like because the difference is this was a one game thing, right? Like you had to be one of the two teams that got through the pool play, and then it was a one game. That's it. In the Olympics, you're gonna have pool play, and then there's gonna be like an actual bracket, right? Like you're not gonna get that level of Binnington, if it is Binnington, right? But you're not gonna get that 3 games in a row. Like that's just not.
Well, even those games, though, too, it's like the goals they let in. It's like, bro, what the fuck? Yeah. But then, of course, in overtime, Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, man. This is fucking unbelievable. Yeah, like, what the fuck, dude?
So you talked about, like, everyone getting hurt, which is, like, the big negative to this and why they don't want to do it at this time. But, again, we're never going to do it before the season. So, like, we can stop talking about that. But who's the asshole, Z? Minnesota Wild medical staff or the Boston Bruins?
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, first of all, it's crazy that like McAvoy got really badly hurt in that first game against Finland, and then watching him run around against Canada. Huh. And I had no idea because he was running around throwing vicious body checks start to finish, taking hits too, and you would have had no idea that he had like such a bad injury apparently. But yeah, it was another one where it's just like I don't know why, but it's like another weird Twitter beef that I can't get out of is like Bruins versus Wild. Like ever since that fucking like Kirill Kaprizov thing, like I've just been caught in the middle like every Wild Brewers game is like anarchy, like super physical. Everyone hates each other. I'm like, well, can I have one good day? I have one day of peace. The answer is no. So it was like another one where I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I was surprised that the Bruins went as public as they did. And I know they were fucking like really upset about it, obviously. But I mean, it's not like they haven't had their own hiccups in the past too. Like specifically, I think with McAvoy, now that I think about it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously just a really shitty situation and it was like a confusing one too. And like, I didn't realize like McAvoy was in the hospital for like 3 or 4 days. Like that's crazy. Yeah. And then he's in that massive sling, very questionable return this season. And it's like with the Bruins specifically too, it's just like, as they should probably be at this point, giving up on making the playoffs, because even if they make the playoffs, what's the fucking point? They stink. But like we also get the news Lindholm probably not returning the regular season, so like all of their defensemen are hurt. Like everyone's hurt, they stink. It's like it was just like rubbing salt in the wounds. But I mean, I don't know. Like it was just like something that once again, this weird Wild Bruins thing. I was just like, come the fuck on. Like this sucks. This is really annoying. But it was great. Like it was like the level of detail, that's how that's how petty and angry the Bruins felt. Like the fact that they put out so much detail in that statement, they never do that ever. Like they never go like it was like step by step, this is what happened.
Except for when they're publicly blasting their goalie who isn't happy with his contract situation.
Yeah, that one
they get detailed then.
Yeah, that one was that one was interesting because I mean that didn't start with them either.
Yeah.
What happens when it goes on a podcast and bitches?
I suppose that's what happens. But yeah, okay, fair enough on that. Are there any players that you can definitively say are out for the Olympics based on how they performed here? Let's focus on USA. Let's just stick with the US because that's all we care about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to do like, say definitively in or out or whatever, but like the ones that came under the most fire that I really wasn't expecting, like Kyle Connor, that was like watching how like the evolution of this tournament for him, and like Adam Fox like was bad. Like he would like at no point in any of these games did he play well, and I mean like. We were very happy for a guy like Zach Werenski making the team with how good of a season he's having. He leads it. He has 6 assists in the tournament. I think that led the tournament in scoring, which is crazy. But like some of those performances, and then like combined with the fact like Dylan Larkin, who came in looking at like a pretty limited role, most likely elevates his play to another level that we haven't really had the opportunity to see in big games in Detroit. Because I mean they haven't made the playoffs since his rookie year. But like I think those were the performances I was most surprised by, like guys like Kyle Connor, Adam Fox at this, and like Tegrity just said like Jack Hughes was absent seemingly. Like some of the players I really was expecting to go off and like was pretty confident about it, just like no shows almost. So like so I mean, I'm not going to say like definitively in or out.
Sure,
but who knows?
You'll never say definitively, but like feels like Fox is out. I think Hughes will be safe because of age and because, well, you don't want to piss off his brother, who you absolutely want there. Anyone that you think immediately needs to be added that wasn't there? Because, like, there's one that I have for sure. But outside that, like, it's a little more murky.
You mean like we weren't expecting before?
That wasn't on the roster.
Oh, okay.
Like I think Tage Thompson is a no.
I was going to say Tage Thompson probably. The fact that he was there is crazy.
Now, did you listen to Russo's worst seats in the house today?
No.
He was talking about the blue line next year. He said he's pretty like adamant, like Fox is out. Like this was a horrible showing for him. He will not be in the Olympic team, which will be interesting to see that play out. Hughes will be in. McAvoy's back in. So there's your 7 guys, right? Who do you think Russo said he speculates could be the 8th?
Tell me he threw out Zeev.
Zeev Boyum.
All right, so he's going to come in and make the same impact as Faber.
Can you imagine what people are going to say? Like, it'd be one thing if, like, there was a different GM that was running USA and they brought in Zeev Boyum. People would be like, oh, this is cool. With Billy Guerin, it's going to be full-on nepotism. Like, people are still saying that about Brock, and he was tied for the best defenseman on the team. Or would you say that he was the 1B, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, by the end of the tournament, he was their most used defenseman.
Like, can you imagine, though?
I would be shocked.
But the argument from Russo is, like, he can step in and fill, like, more of the offensive role if you really need him to, but it's more like, hey, this is a guy that's going to be part of Team USA for a long time, especially if Bill Guerin's running the shit. Get him out there and just get a taste. He's not going to play, but let him soak it in. And guess what? Is there a guy that's accomplished more in such a short window of time than him? Dude's a fucking winner. In a year's span, he has 2 gold medals in the national championship. And who knows? They could go on a run and win another natty this year. Can you imagine him winning back-to-back championships?
He'll, like, the first time he doesn't win something, he's like, I
quit. I'm out.
So you guys are losers. Like,
I retire.
Just does the host that just sides with whoever wins. It's the cup.
No, dude.
The 1 year deal solely.
He comes in, is a catalyst for the Wild getting past the first round for the first time in over a decade. And then they lose in the next round. He's like, fuck this shit. Trade me.
Yeah, he's like, well, this isn't how I roll. This isn't how I play hockey, actually. I play 78 million games a year. And it's fine. 30 minutes a night. I don't know. That feels pretty crazy. Consider we haven't seen him lace up for a single NHL game yet. And plus you have guys like Hudson, like who we've seen play really well with Team USA and play really well so far in the short stint in the NHL. So it feels aggressive considering he's still playing college hockey, but like the logic as far as like assuming he comes in and just continues down the path that he's on, which is crazy. But I mean,
like my response, so tomorrow, Joe and I are going to record with him for this week's episode of Fellowship of the Rink. And
I need to know what it was like fighting EJ Emery, who is 1 million feet tall and like 400 pounds of pure raw muscle.
Not Zeev. Russo. Oh,
damn it! I thought you were just saying Zeev.
No, we just had Zeev on. We won't get.
I know that's what I was like in my head. I was like, that's weird.
No, you said you need. I thought you were talking about Russo, but all right, sorry, but no, like. My direct statement to Russo is like, this sounds like something that fucking me and Z would say. Like, why are you saying this?
Like he was like definitive about it?
Not definitive. He's like, I think that would be a good move and I could see it happening. It wasn't like he will be on the team, but it's like for that 8 spot, like, cause that's the only thing that's open, right? Like he thinks the 7 are pretty much set short of someone just going off. It's like, I think a good option for the 8 spot.
I mean, I also still think it's like, I don't think it's like super reasonable to just automatically like, yeah, this is what Fox is like all the time. Like he's had a bad year on a really weird team. And like, he did not show up this tournament.
I am a New York Rangers hater.
Yeah.
Notedly. I've never been on the Adam Fox bandwagon. He is a great NHL defenseman. I didn't think he should have won the Norris. Like he should have been in the discussion. Sure. But like for me, especially in this tournament, when you have to factor in like some of the elite teams you're going to play against, his skating scares me a little bit at times. It's not that he can't skate. Like we're not talking like David Juracek, right? Like it's more just like that gap between him and whoever the next guy could be. It makes a difference. And this being somewhat of a tryout, like, if this was the tryout, he's not making the team.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he can't come out and like go off the rest of this year or next year and still make the team. I'm not saying it's like definitive, but the fact that Russo basically made it sound definitive, that says something to me. Because he's probably not pulling that out of nowhere. He usually heard it from someone.
Yeah.
And he actually has a pretty decent relationship with the GM of Team USA. So who knows? We'll see. But fair enough. We don't have to waste any more time on the who's in, who's out. I got something a little bit more obscure then for you, Z. You personally know very well that, Toronto has issues winning when it matters, right? We just got the second and third best players on the Maple Leafs in this championship game. And it's funny because, again, Matthews and Marner, the shtick is, can't show up in the big game. It's almost like the very stoppable force versus the, not strong. I don't know. I don't know how to say it backwards. I know it's always the strong force versus a movable object or whatever, but they both are set up to fail. You've got one of them wearing the maple leaf, one of them wearing the blue. Marner ends up winning. Do the Toronto Maple Leafs just need to get rid of the blue? Is that the problem? Is that what's holding them back?
That's it.
They don't even have to be red. It's just can't be blue.
There you go.
Actually, for Isha, the only way that we might get Isha to not just ravage anything Toronto, if they were green and it looked like a pot leaf, Isha would be all in.
Yeah.
Instantly. How do you not?
Yeah. No.
Mateo got me. Completely stoppable force meets very movable object. My words were a little twisted up.
Yeah, it was interesting watching those two throughout the tournament. Obviously Matthews didn't have the impact they wanted from him. It was interesting too, just that line in general. That's what we looked at. That was the one that we're oh, that might pop. That is a scary trio to be playing on the same line for against best of the best. I thought Matthews made a lot of really small defensive plays that were really good. Of course, on the fucking overtime the gold medal game, the fact that Connor McDavid is no one's in the same zip code as him in the slot in overtime in the gold medal game, just off to the side, just barely in the frame is Auston Matthews. I was oh my God. I don't know. Leafs fans are gonna love and hate this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But
Marner, there was that guy that was on a Montreal fan that was on with Blackburn on What Chaos, and he basically came just short of saying that he was jerking off to the idea that Auston Matthews is the one that blew it and gave Canada the win. He's oh my God, that's my wet dream.
Yeah, it's incredible. I do think at the same time, you look at both of their performances and it's Auston Matthews, the expectation for his role with Team USA, captain, first line center, looked at to be the biggest impact guy up front at both ends of the ice as far as offense, defense. And then Mitch Marner, I think if you were Team Canada looking at going into that tournament, you're he's probably going to give us some offensive juice. But we still have McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, guys on the back end too that could score. They weren't really needing him to the Leafs really need him to go off in the playoffs, and if they're going to win more than one round ever. So I think the level of expectations obviously going to factor in for both of them, and it's just very different. But Marner was fucking awesome. And again, it's so weird just listening to them mic'd up in the locker room, specifically with Marchand, who gets his one goal. I thought he struggled to keep up with the pace of play in general. At the time, he was 34, 35, 36 years old. But the fact he's this is great. I can just hang out and win and chirp literally everybody. It's so funny to me.
Was it weird to you that Marchand just didn't care?
No, that's very much if he's winning, he's happy.
But there was no snarl. He was a little kid.
Well, he barely played. He was 10, 11, 12 minutes a night. And the first game that they played, of course, that game against Sweden in game one, as
at the first intermission, he was trying to fight everybody on Team Sweden. I was like, there he goes. Like, he's going to do something outrageous. But I think he came in and he was like, knowing that he was going to have a backseat on this team. And he was like, I'm thrilled to be a part of it. This is very fun just to play for Team Canada, guys that we've never been able to play with because of the Olympic situation. Like, he was very much content to fill a role if needed and pretty much sit back and let the big dogs eat. And it was great also seeing obviously Patrice Bergeron, his kids are at the game after the gold medal and just hanging out with it's so crazy seeing him hang out with McDavid, Crosby, Marchand, and then Bergeron's kids or whatever. Crosby's there's our centerman right there. It was crazy to me. I can't believe we were robbed of all of that. All of these potential Olympic games. It's crazy that we never really got to see them all play together at their best, but at the same time, this was pretty great.
I was going to say, this wouldn't have mattered if that was the case, which
right. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't take that. I'm just
right. Yeah.
This is what it is because of
again,
the drought we've had.
And the players all could have been whatever. Yeah, this is great that we get the opportunity, but it's the middle of the season. A lot of us are playing for a Stanley Cup or whatever. Let's just make sure we don't get hurt, but play some fun hockey. No, they were fucking balls to the walls. They wanted to win. Again, obviously I was sad that USA didn't win gold, but seeing how fucking fired up McDavid was every time he put the puck in the net, or just anyone scored for Team Canada, that's sick. It's just cool seeing all of how fired up they get about this tournament, and that's what's really going to catapult, obviously, guys playing for Team USA, Team Canada, all that stuff. So it was I just thought that was a massive win, obviously, for the NHL. When you look at the viewership and how much traction it got outside of the traditional hockey media, it was great.
Yeah, and then you followed up with a pretty brutal slate of games that weekend.
Oh my god!
But whatever. We can move past that. All right. Next up, Mateo wants us to talk about Mikko Rantanen, which makes sense since he's already unhappy and wants to leave. Doesn't want to leave. That's maybe overstating it, but is not sold on staying necessarily. It's a bizarre situation because there's the debate of can they re-sign him? If not, do they trade him or keep him as an own rental? And it's I don't know. It's just not a fun spot to be in. And of course, meanwhile, Colorado's laughing off in the distance. It was interesting though on 32 Thoughts. Elliot Friedman kind of brought up, or actually, no, it wasn't Friedman. It was Bukoskis said Rod Brind'Amour was not the happiest person when he got traded from Philly, especially, those that don't know the deeper origins of why he got traded, that makes it way more intense. But he ended up in Carolina, wasn't thrilled, went from a good team in Philly to Carolina, and look at him now, still there. Does having Rod Brind'Amour there to talk him through it and try and sell him on why it's a great place to be, does that help, or is it just not even going to matter?
I still am going to question how much it's crazy when you look at Carolina and how they've done business since Dundon got there. Until people talk shit about his money, he clearly doesn't love spending crazy money, which is very funny to me. He's oh, you think I'm not rich? Fuck
sure.
You. Which is kind of baller, but also stupid if you're trying to run a hockey team.
Can I challenge? I agree with you 100% that that's the mindset. I think last year changed everything. I think what happened with Gensel, with them waiting too long, the reason that Gensel didn't stay, he wanted to stay. He was fine staying. They played hardball way too long. He's fine, I'm going to test the market. And then he goes to test the market and they finally offered him what he wanted. He's no, I'm out testing the market. Fuck you. I'm good. He didn't say it as directly as that, but when Ben Hankinson jumped on with Joe and I on Fellowship, in a very veiled way, that's basically what he said.
Mm-hmm.
I just they aren't willing to let this one go that way. If he doesn't stay, it's because he doesn't want to be there. I think that they will pony up and give him enough money that if he walks, it's because he just doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, and I feel because the first I saw about this, just not really paying a ton of attention to Carolina in general.
You about to say hockey?
I almost said hockey. I meant as I was literally trying. I was like trying to say Carolina. My brain was like, "No, just tell everyone that you make everything up every week."
Great. That's
Like
good.
obviously, it has not gone as well so far as we would have expected or anyone expected, really.
Right.
But it sounded like he was more still just like mulling over his options, not ready to commit to
Unsure.
anything. So, like you said, I'm sure that they're ready to like pony up and like give him a big contract or whatever. But if he does end up either getting traded because he's not going to like resign, or if they keep him and he doesn't resign and goes somewhere else, we finally may have another Carolina Hurricane who gets booed more aggressively than Eric Holla, who is still the weirdest player to get viciously booed in an NHL arena I've ever seen in my life. And it's so funny. Like, I am obsessed with the fact that he gets absolutely eviscerated. And he was there for like 10 minutes. It's so funny to me. It's crazy. Like, they boo him every time he touches the puck. So this could be the opportunity for the Hall of Famer to not be the most booed player in Carolina. But it's crazy. Like when I saw the trade thing, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like at that point, you got to think, I mean, someone is going to pay him big time, obviously, because he's one of the best players in the league. He's been producing ridiculous clips for however many years. But like, you have to wonder, like, how many other teams are like, are you sure? Like, I mean, how much money do we like? I mean, and I guess that's more so in the offseason, but like as far as trade goes,
I don't want to give him more than like 12 or 13, which is probably around what Carolina is going to give him. Like, I don't know.
So like for a team, if they like, let's say they do decide that they're going to trade him before and like not do the rental thing if they can't get him to commit. Like, if you're another team, like, you gotta think that they're worried about it. I still think he doesn't get traded. I think he stays
if he
there.
Gets traded, it's either gonna be a shit return or it's gonna be like a sign and trade. Like,
right?
Yeah. Like, there's not gonna be any middle ground there where you're unsure. And I mean, you like shared Drager's post and said what? I reply then with Avs fans would lose their minds if Billy pulled off some sicko shit to bring him in. And Starlax comments and says, I might be crazy, but I think I would rather make a run at Marner if Toronto doesn't think they can re-sign him. He said resign, but I'm going to be nice and pretend he said re-sign. He's my number one free agent in the offseason. He would give Cap or Boldy a legit running mate. Mikko has the size, but Marner plays right wing center, has a right shot, and is good defensively. Straight up, Z, if you could have either one, maybe not same, but similar price tag as a free agent this offseason, do you want Rantanen or do you want Marner if you're the Minnesota Wild?
I mean, I'd probably still lean Rantanen, but at the same time, it's not like that's a crazy, like they're pretty, like they're very, like as far as their overall impact and how good they are in this league, like they're pretty close. They both put up tons of points. They can play with good players, whatever. I still think Rantanen just gives you a little bit more, just like the size, the physicality aspect of his game and how much of a prick he is on the ice sometimes. And like his shooting ability is ridiculous. And you look at like Minnesota, they've got Kaprizov who can score goals. And then like you might have one or two guys that could flirt with 40, 50 goals. Maybe it's just Boldy off the top of my head when I think about it. So like his ability to score like is ridiculous. Like I wish I should have brought up his shooting percentage, but it's crazy. It is like he can score from distance. He can score from tight, obviously, but I still probably lean Rantanen a little bit, but at the same time, it's not like it's a crazy, like you don't like you're nuts for suggesting Marner over Rantanen anyways.
Breaking news as I click the home button after pulling up that tweet. Our boy Jack, boss man of 10K, noted mafia member, retweets Barstool saying that Sydney Sweeney and her fiance have postponed their wedding. He says, huge news for my buddy Bob, who likes her Instagram photos.
Yeah.
God damn it, Jack. Well played. All right, moving on with actual news. Based on competition in the Four Nations, like obviously Billy G's in tight with everything that's happening there for USA. Who is he sitting there just licking his chops over that he's like, I need to get this guy here?
Obviously, I think everyone's looking at either one of the Kachuk / both and be like, how can I get him to my team?
Would you hang on? If it meant getting both Kachucks, would you get rid of Kaprizov as part of that transaction?
Oh God, I don't think I could do that. Like when I look at what I think Kaprizov's impact on this franchise is going to be for his whole career, I don't think I could possibly part ways with Kaprizov. Just don't think I could do it.
It's the right political answer.
You have to wonder if he's like, hey, Dylan, are you sure about Detroit? I don't think it's the right move. But like how good he was, like the way he like it's Billy's style of play too. And again, like the age and doesn't really make sense. And like the whole talk about like the contracts, like can he actually be a number one center on like a Stanley Cup team, whatever. But you have to think like if he was legitimately being like after this tournament, like if it's I'm bringing this guy with the inclination, like, hey, maybe I make a move. Like I don't know how Dylan Larkin wouldn't be pretty close to the top of that list when you look at like the center position, how he plays, how good he's been since he stepped into the league. But
well, especially dude, like the way Russo like gushed about him, just like sitting next to him on the plane, the way he played, like that's one of my questions for Russo tomorrow is who wants Larkin here more, you or Billy?
Yeah, exactly, right.
Like it is an interesting one for sure because of fit and not knowing like what the long-term outlook is in Detroit. Like the Yzer plan is arguably a plan. I don't know. That's a fun one. And I just got to say, like, I know you were with me on this, Z, but to the people out there who like absolutely shit all over Jack Eichel before he was traded from Buffalo, what now?
Oh yeah,
fucking idiots.
He's so
let's be clear,
good, dude.
There probably wasn't a feasible way to get him here given the cap constraints, but like when I suggested this is a guy that's worth going all in for, like whatever it takes minus Kaprizov, people came back and didn't even say like, oh no, he won't fit. Like we can't make it work with the cap. They were like, no, he sucks. He's a locker room cancer. He's bad. Like you all are fucking idiots if you thought that. I don't even care if you're like a listener. You can be mad. Like if you shit on Jack Eichel because he wanted out of Buffalo because they were going to make him get a surgery he didn't want, loser.
And that being said, shout out Cody Eakin for making fun of him. What, like the first game back in Buffalo as Buffalo was winning and they took a face off and he just did the neck thing at him before taking the, like he delayed the face off so we could do this for like 10 seconds. That was so fucking funny.
I got no problem with that.
Outrageously funny. I was like, that fucking, there was like the 10 minutes, there was good vibes in Buffalo too. Like it was crazy. It was like, that is so funny.
The only good vibes we've seen in Buffalo since your boy Lucic ran Miller.
Yeah, that was good vibes. Paul Gosh, I was like, I guess I have to fight him. Just get his fucking wheels beat off him. Ruin the franchise. But I feel like those two, I guess, specifically from this tournament, if Billy was like, if I could figure out a way to get those guys, I feel like how good they were. I fucking love watching the way that Jack Eichel passes. I don't know what it is, but it's always perfectly weighted, hitting guys in stride. Like that Gensel, the first goal that Gensel scored against Canada, even that pass sending him in, like he fluttered it over and it was tape to tape in stride. It's like, it's every time he makes a pass, it's fucking perfect. And obviously he can score goals himself. He's just an incredible fucking hockey player. But he is so fun to watch and just a fascinating skater too, because it doesn't look like he's moving fast the way that he moves, just his like skating style, but he flies.
Dude, I got a notification 45 minutes ago. Shout out our very dedicated listener, Sean Cosgrove. I don't know what he said, but he definitely went and commented on the video that I posted on TikTok. So now there's going to be at least one view.
I hope it stays at one. I hope the view count stays at one. Or 0 views, 1 comment.
Oh God. Yeah, it doesn't even count as a view.
Yeah.
That would actually make me feel way better. It's like, oh, okay, maybe there were actually views.
Comments, hey man, I can't believe this doesn't have any views. This is a great. That being said, I still didn't view it though, but like I think it's
No,
great.
no, disagree. This sucks.
You really posted this? I bet you thought you did something.
The next one I do will just be different sequences of Millhouse dancing. That's going to be one of my next AI moves. Maybe Cosgrove, you should just beat me to this and do it yourself. But some of the unhinged comments that Cosgrove makes in here, I'm going to like do an AI thing where I just basically make it so that Millhouse is actually saying the things that Cosgrove comments. It'd be pretty good. All right, well, let's get more into Minnesota Wild specific stuff, which, I mean, that was the start of it, certainly, with talking Billy G trade targets, even though, let's be real, deadline's probably going to be pretty dull. Interesting, though, with all the, like, Larkin stuff, we get back-to-back Detroit games, and the one on Saturday was certainly interesting, to say the least. What are your takeaways? Also, like, credit where it's due to Brett Marshall, analytics guru for the Sota Pod, posted the picture that Mateo has right here on the screen for those watching and said events that precede, or I don't remember what it's called. What is it? Like preceding unfortunate events? I don't know. But for those listening, it is Larkin sitting in the penalty box, pointing up at the scoreboard, and Detroit's up 3-1, and we know where it went from there.
You'll be shocked to learn that he's yelling at Joel Eriksson for pissing off the entire fucking Detroit Red Wing lineup for like.
It's not shocking at all.
It was like an incredible sequence too. Like, what a play with the stick on the penalty kill by Eriksson. Gets that an uncontested breakaway. Doesn't even consider trying to not run Talbot. Like, I mean, it was just square. It was like, that's so funny. The classic Eriksson face in those scrums are like, what? What the fuck? What? Me? I didn't do anything. But what a fucking game in general. Obviously, like coming out of the gate looked rough.
Yeah.
But like, by the end, it was an incredible hockey game, like just super physical. By the way, what a hit by DeBrincat on like beautiful hit, and he rocked him.
Dude,
chaos ensues. I had people yelling at me. I posted the video. All I said was DeBrincat levels, whatever Faber and like whatever chaos ensues. People were messaging me again. I don't know, like. Oh, is that not a good hit, you pussy? I was like, all I did was say it was a great hit. Look, I don't fucking
reading comprehension on Twitter is limited, we'll say. But what we really got to talk about is Brock Faber just being fucking Iron Man for Team USA. Like, holy shit. And I literally clipped I took a screenshot of your tweets about Brock Faber's ridiculous numbers. Oh, I sent you the video actually on this one. That one did okay. That one actually got more than 0 views. But that with Grandma's Boy, high score, is that bad? High score, did I break it? Nick Swartzen is my hero.
What does that mean? Is that?
My numbers of Brainasium are limited here. Oh no.
Another tweet that I put out that got the weirdest replies of all time was just the fact that Brock Faber played 28 minutes and 50 seconds on Thursday night in a gold medal game against Canada. 36 hours later, plays 30 minutes against Detroit in that overtime win, which was at noon, I guess, Central, right? Yeah.
11:30.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was noon here. That's right. That's insane. And people were being like, not that different than like playing back-to-back in the NHL. I'm like, yeah, okay. Very different, because one was a gold medal game on a Thursday night, flying out to fucking Detroit, and then playing 30 minutes at noon. Like, that's crazy. But like, I had people being like, it's not that hard. Someone goes, stop glazing, which apparently you can't like compliment dudes anymore without being like, oh, fucking glaze. I was like, Jesus, ew, fucking, that's weird. Good Lord. But what a fucking like animal this kid is. Like, he just doesn't get tired. In the words of Mark Messier and Subban, it's like he takes the glasses off and he becomes Superman. That's what they said before the game was great.
straight up the hockey images that precede, not proceed, unfortunate events. The Chicago Blackhawks fans that went off the first game of the tournament because Brock Faber's like underlying numbers weren't great, even though he like had a great game objectively, to come out and finish the way he did, then do what he did in Detroit. Like, Chicago Blackhawks fans are in shambles. Like,
Misery.
National media is calling out their boy Bedard. They have no support staff. Seth Jones wants to be traded, but there's no one that fucking wants him because his contract is too many more years and too much money. Like, I don't feel bad for Chicago fans because, like, screw them. But, like, if it was a different market, I'd feel really bad for Chicago fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're down hard.
And it's interesting too, like especially like out here in Boston, like after the Four Nations, it's always interesting too. It's like it was a couple of years ago now, and like we're now fucking post Four Nations. Be like, if I could have redone my ballot, you know, I probably would have put like Faber rookie there. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, you can't. Why would you now? Look, and if I another year later for an international tournament, if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, I feel like that literally doesn't make sense.
Dude, it's everyone that, like, how are people still finding out about Brock Faber? Like, even Keith Yandel on Chicklets was like, I knew nothing about this kid. Holy fuck, is he good? It's like. So you don't watch hockey. That's what you're saying. Like, and like, I love Keith Yandel, but like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Just like the best one. This is a while ago, Z, but the Chicklets guys had absolutely no idea who Ferraro was for San Jose. It's like, how do you not know the number one defenseman for any NHL team if you cover the NHL? That's tough. No,
it's tough luck. It's a tough look.
But then Biz goes out and fights 6 guys at a local Arizona restaurant, and everyone forgets. So it's good.
There you go. But either way, that Detroit game, incredible hockey game, super physical start to finish. Anytime like a fucking matinee game is like anarchy, I'm like, these guys are sick in the head. It's like noon, everyone's just pissed off, like in the middle of February, and they're just like throwing insane hits, just killing each other every fucking stoppage. There's a scrum. Eriksson actually is doing it's the exact Bogosian tries to kill someone every game now, which is always fascinating. Like he just picks a random target and like has to be physically separated by like 4 refs, get him away from like the most random person possible.
I like that though. Go random. Like then they're always guessing and looking over their shoulder. Like if you only go for the studs, everyone else doesn't care. But like if no one knows who you're coming after, everyone's scared.
Wild card, which is yeah.
I cut the brake cord.
Yeah. Was it? Oh yeah, no, against Chicago. It was like they scored a goal because he was just 15 feet away from the play trying to fight fucking Donato. I think it was that game. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Dude, how many times have we talked? I mean, like Marco Rossi thought he made a lot of really good small plays. Like specifically there was one where he out-muscled someone in front of the net to win a loose puck who, like, I forget which defenseman it was. Oh no, it was Edvinsson. It was Edvinsson, who is 6'6" and just an animal.
6'6"?
Yeah.
Shit.
6'5", 6'6", something like that.
I knew he was big. I didn't know he was 6'6". Damn.
He might be 6'3". But I don't know. Either way, like
hang on. Is he taller than 6 foot?
He is taller than 6 foot, so he's
8 feet tall. 8 feet tall.
Yeah. But like he made a lot of really small plays like that throughout the game. And then of course he steps up, has the primary assist on Foligno's game tying goal with the goal he pulled. Takes what a fucking dive, by the way, from Kane in overtime, and then exits the box and scores the funniest OT winner ever. And then after the game just goes, yeah, the refs suck today, but you know, it's all right. It happens. I was like, oh my, you can't say that. I was like, you can't fucking say, you can just do that. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So
but just
how
like
did he not get dinged? Is it because it's Marco Rossi that he didn't get dinged? Like if Ryan Hartman said that, 20 games.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, who knows? But like again, like as far as big time eye-popping offensive plays, like he didn't really pop throughout the game. But then again, in big moments, late in games,
big moments, like he shows up again. Like primary assist on Foligno, but shout out Marcus Foligno was great against Detroit. Gets him the game tying goal, and then again wins it in overtime. Like he's just going and producing in the biggest moments when guys like Kaprizov's out. The same thing when Eriksson was out. Like when they're missing half the lineup, he's just been so consistent all year long. Like, what do we have to do to lock him up? Like, please sign this kid. It's driving me crazy. He's one goal away from tying last season's. He's got 20 now. He had 21 last year. He surpassed the assist and point total already, like a few games ago. Like, he's just incredible. Like, I love Marco Rossi. I want him to stay here forever. And again, just another big time moment for him in this game versus Detroit. So shout out Marco Rossi.
That was a very funny game-winning goal, for sure.
Incredible. Like he could have been like, yeah, it was almost like a Kucherov kind of. If Kucherov drank 50 Bud Lights before that move, you know, like it was like, oh shit. I saw.
It was funny that he just like was basically like, yeah, no, totally an accident, or was it?
Well, the thing that also made it potentially ridiculous was the fact that we still didn't know. I mean, I guess enough time had passed where like Toronto didn't sound usually like if it's because I thought that shot from Kane went in the way it bounced out, and then we see the replay after, like what a fucking shoulder save from Fleury off
the Cup final all over again.
Somehow comes out the way that it came, like it bounced off the post, so it looked like it hit the back bar. So like part of me was like, I still don't know if Kane's shot went in. So that we're waiting if this ridiculous goal that barely went over the line is the OT winner, because like a minute ago it looked like Kane scored in overtime. But then again, they show the replay, and what a save by Fleury. Fleury had a couple insane saves that game too. But yeah, no, it started rough, didn't look great at the beginning, obviously, but it ended up being like a fucking awesome hockey game. And again, just ridiculous that Brock Faber played that much, like within 36 hours. Like, it's crazy.
At this point, though, like it makes me really sad, but like I'm numb to it. Like, it's not shocking to me. Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's Brock Faber. Like,
yeah, this is his second full year in the league. He's played 9 games where he's played over 30 minutes. That's insane.
That's very insane. And like, people lost their minds over that trade.
Yeah.
Which, like, let's throw it out there because this is actually important. This is a random side tangent, but pretty sure little man's first game is going to be in 2 weeks, Pittsburgh here against the Wild. My wife is going to be wearing her Kevin Fiala jersey because she still loves him. I'm going to be wearing my Phil Kessel Penguins jersey because I'll always love him more than everyone except for little man. What's he wear? Do I just get like a onesie that says like, I hope everyone has a good time? Do I like put him in like a penguin costume and put like a Wild shirt over it? Like, how do I maneuver this?
I kind of like that.
He's primed for the Simba Cam. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I like that.
What's the move? Like, brainstorm with me. Like, how do I properly set him up? Minus the earmuffs that he absolutely has to have, otherwise hearing's gone forever. But like, what's the move?
I like the penguin costume idea. We just figure out a Wild logo in there somewhere where it's like, I don't know what to make of this kid right now.
I mean, you could just put like a Wild shirt on over the penguin costume. That's
true.
Doable. I don't know.
Yeah, Wild shirt over a penguin onesie. Yeah, that works.
All right, well, that was a really short conversation. Back on track then. Oh, Cooley, Utah jersey. that plays. Interesting. No, it's got to be the Kachina.
Mm-hmm.
Only way it works. Man Cup big costume. I like that. All right, Cosgrove wins again, as always. Let's get into the fun topic that no one knows what to do with, Z. Kirill Kaprizov. People are, for some weird reason, like getting all bent out of shape. Like, oh, it's more than 4 weeks. It's like the original prognosis was like probably 4 to 6 weeks, but we're not sure. And there are a lot of fans out there that have seen what happened for Tampa, for Vegas. No one likes to acknowledge that Chicago was the first piece of shit team to do it. Whatever. Fans wanting Kaprizov to be out until the playoffs so he can make a big move. How do you feel about that?
No.
That's the worst idea ever because, oh, wait, we kind of need him.
Like literally. That's
if he's not back, like, tell you what, if you promised me we could squeak in as the second wild card, fine, I'll kind of entertain it. But also, like, Russo made a pretty good point that Kaprizov doesn't just like come in and dominate. Like, he needs a good like 4 or 5 game buffer before he's really full Kaprizov.
And I mean, I can't imagine that conversation with him would go well. He's already pissed right now about not being ready to play.
I think it's less holding him out than like fans being like, gosh, I hope his recovery takes him up until close to that so that they can wait. I just don't agree. Like, we need him back because the team has performed admirably, but like, dude, March, a lot of home games, which everyone, whether you go pregame, postgame, hit up Barrel Theory and at the rink, they have incredible options. Crowler, draft IPA, whatever, best beers at the X, undebatable. We got a lot of home games, and that's scary. The Wild fucking suck at home.
So weird.
We need Kirill Kaprizov back before March. We do. And it's not going to happen, but we need him back as soon as possible in March because I don't know how we win a home game without Kirill Kaprizov. How do we do it?
No, it's not allowed, actually. That's what's going on.
Even when he's in, it's barely allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, again, the bigger point is just the fact that, like, as Russo was mentioning, like, he does usually take a little bit of time just to warm up and get going. Obviously, this year was the year that he really just, like, popped off immediately. But, like, we want him playing games for the playoffs, getting back into that groove. This is, like, I feel the first time he's been out for, like, extended period of time, like, for this long anyways, with, like, a surgery or whatever.
This extended, yeah. But
yeah,
it would be the most Minnesota Wild thing ever to be the first team to like have their star player out on LTIR and everyone be like, oh no, they're cheating. This is bullshit. And then just not make the playoffs.
yeah.
And especially in a year where we don't have our first as it currently stands.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm out on that idea. Get him back as soon as possible. Get him playing games.
Agreed.
Simple as that. Of course, it also coincides, like, the report that he's going to be out longer than expected comes out at the same time with like the McAvoy Wild Doc thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, this isn't really that related, but oh my God.
People losing their minds over that for sure.
It's unbelievable.
Dude, the bigger thing for me too is like, it's not just a matter of, oh, we can bring in an awesome player. Like, you have to fucking acquire them. Like, are we really in a position where we think we can win the Stanley Cup if we bring in one key player?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Now, could we win a round or two? Yeah, that'd be cool. But are you going to like sell the future to do that? Because if you're going to bring in that meaningful of a piece, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
I'm not trading any of our top 5 prospects to do something like that. And that's what it's going to take because you don't have this year's first to play with. And sure as shit, Guerin's not giving up 2 consecutive first round picks in back-to-back drafts. That's no. So what are we talking about here? Like, who are we going to go get and what are they going to cost? And how are they going to even come close to Kaprizov's regular season production? I'm very, very out on the notion of I want Kaprizov to be on LTIR until playoffs start. Mm-hmm. But horrible idea. I understand where fans are coming from, mostly because they're frustrated about what's happened in the past, but like I'm so out on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yep. Jupe, GPL agrees. Don't waste your money this season. It's not happening. It's not. Now, a couple of years from now. And let's go back to our conversation earlier, Z, of targets for Mike Sullivan. Targets for Bill Guerin. I think Mike Sullivan's at the top of the list. I just mushed that up. But like for real, I've said it multiple times. I'll keep saying it. It's around the 2026, 2027 mark where the Penguins are going to move on from Mike Sullivan. And how do you not bring him in? So many people are like, oh, he's not that good of a coach. Someone commented when I said that like the Wild will bring him in and he'll be the coach that wins it for them. And it's like, he hasn't done anything since the back-to-back cups. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, like he had the best rosters ever and won back-to-back. Like, first off, like that doesn't just happen. Like the Penguins were in a bad spot before he took over. And then we're going to ignore the fact that they've had dog shit lineups thanks to fucking Brian Burke and Ronnie Textall. I don't have words for you.
Yeah.
Mike Sullivan is a top 5 coach in this league, period. You guys want to argue with me? You know where to find me.
Ooh, gauntlet. Fucking throw it down. Motherfucker. Yeah, well, God. On fire.
Yeah.
Elephant.
So, yeah. We can move on from that. Yeah, hopefully Kaprizov comes back as soon as possible. But, like, this isn't news. This isn't a shock. It's going to be a minute before he's back. But I got to think sometime in March he's back and playing. And if he's not, that's scarier. And I guess at that point, yeah, if you think you can add something at the deadline and you know he's going to be out, see if something works, but I just don't see a way where it's worth giving up what you'd have to. So
here's a scenario. Kaprizov's out until first game back is when Washington comes to town because Alex Ovechkin has 13 goals to go. They play 14 times before they're in Minnesota at the end of March. He comes back and Ovechkin does the thing in Minnesota, which is also funny that like I feel like everyone should want that. It's like I don't care if we lose by fucking 10 goals.
I'm be honest, dude. Like this is gonna sound super hater. Like I want Fleury to play that game, and I want Ovi to get it against him because like that's just like such a cool like Clash of Titans like legacy. Yeah. Like everyone will remember it. And Fleury's probably the only goalie that can like get over Ovechkin getting the record on you, right? Like Fleury can shake it off like. Whatever. People are gonna remember me. It is what it is. I've done my thing. Man, that's gonna be a really interesting. Like, he could get it here. It's gonna be interesting. I would love to watch it. I'm gonna be at that game. It's gonna be very fun. What if we went straight up 2009 postseason and we got dueling hat tricks for him to get it? Him and Kaprizov both get a hat trick, and Ovi breaks the record. Who's mad? Who is mad?
The biggest haters.
Besides Gretzky.
No, that would rule. I'm all in.
Oh my God. Sean Cosgrove, Fleury pulls a Favre and falls down to give him the record. Woo!
Whoops.
And yeah, Cosgrove, I've been on that for a while. I'm with you. Hextall was a flyer and definitely took the Penguins down on purpose. I thought Brian Burke would protect me.
Nope.
Not at all. Cole, I disagree. He says he doubts Hines would play Fleury if it's got a chance of happening, sadly. I think Fleury's like, I want this. I want to be out there to stop him or be beat by him. Like, it's like one of the last challenges he can take on since he's not going to score a goal or get a goalie fight because the refs hate him.
It's true.
God, if he can fight Binnington, like the amount of money I would pay for that to occur.
Oh, yeah.
I need it.
I can't believe we got robbed of that, too. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Unfortunate. It's really sad. All of the sadness in Minnesota. You're learning it. Last Minnesota Wild topic. Ryan Hartman negotiates from 10 down to 8. Could have negotiated further and was like, no, I'm happy. We're good.
That's out.
Gets it down to 8, which is, I guess, good. It's like weird. Like, why was it 10 if it was like so easy for Bettman to be like, yeah, it seemed like a steep climb from his previous like high of 3 games to go all the way to 10, but 8 feels right. It's like, feels like we're just making it up at this point.
I feel vindicated because I'm pretty sure I had this conversation when the Wild were out here, when I was hanging out with some of the fellas from.
Wait, we gonna talk about that?
Not the players. Not the players.
No, we're gonna talk about that at all.
That's not who I'm talking about. But like, we were throwing out like what we thought. I was like, I feel like it's gonna be 8. Like 8 felt right to me. I think I said it on here too. Like
on here, you said 4. I think you said 6 on here.
Did I say 6? Fuck.
But
in my head, I was convinced it was 8.
In your defense, Z, I was like, oh no, it's gonna be lower.
He's actually in a bonus.
It was so funny because I think my exact words too were like I think because you brought up the idea of it being 10, you're like, oh, dude, could they go 10? I'm like, no chance they go 10. And then like,
that's what it was.
3 hours later, 10 games. I'm like, fuck me.
I can't remember if it was on here or if it was with when the guys were out here. I was like, it's either going to be 6 on the nose, or if it's not 6, it's 10. That's where I was at. So now I'm not.
And you split the difference with 8. There we go.
I'm still a loser.
This one's for Sean Cosgrove. I am so smart. I am so smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-T.
It'll be interesting to see how. So how many games does he have before he can play again?
He's back on March 4th, I think.
Okay.
If that's a day that we play.
Yeah, and I mean, like, realistically, any player who's been suspended multiple times, when they come back, like, yeah, it's obviously a wake-up call, blah, blah, but that's what he said. So it'll be interesting to see if he changes game whatsoever. I don't know if he knows how to do that, but, like, again, that was an absolutely ridiculous play. Like, it was insane.
Agreed, but I disagree that he has to change his game. Like,
right.
He can play his same rat game without doing stupid shit like that.
Right.
Like, there's a line that he very much crossed and was fucking dumb. But like the way he largely plays his game, being a piece of shit, like getting in people's face, doing borderline stuff, fucking do that all day. That's your game. That's your bread and butter. But it's like there's people out there that are like, oh, he's like skilled. He should just play straight up. Like, no, that's not conducive to him. Like, he gets into the game by being a piece of shit. And like, I say that in a positive way. Like, I'm not like shitting on him. Like, being a piece of shit, it's Brad Marchand. It's Matthew Tkachuk. Like, being a piece of shit's good if you're smart about it. He was very dumb about it. I want him to keep being a piece of shit. Just don't be that fucking dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give them no choice but to sussy your ass. Like, come on.
Yeah. I guess that's more so where I was going. It was just like, I'm curious to see if, like, when he says, like, it's a learning experience, whatever, like, taking a huge lesson from it, if that actually is like, because if he does try to play a different way, that will absolutely alter his game. That's more so what I meant. If he's like constantly thinking on the ice, I can't do this, I can't do that, that will affect his play. Because like part of his success is being like a piece of shit on the ice, like a Konechny, like a Marchand, like a Tkachuk, like all that stuff. So he's a fucking great player. Like, and it's just like there have been so many of those sequences where it's like there's also been other plays where he's lucky that like he didn't get something and like it was sneaky enough or just like so borderline. And then this was the big one that was like unbelievably egregious, painfully obvious. And it's just like, bro, you're lucky that like you didn't fully land on his head. Like, it's crazy.
No, he's probably like, it was really unlucky that I didn't, because that's what I tried.
That's probably it.
And that's I mean, that's why we love him, but it's also like, dude, just like pick your spots. Like, do it right. All right. Before we transition to our last like kind of broad prospects topic, apparently there's news that we need to address per Matteo Integrity. Ville Husso to Anaheim. I have no idea what the details are of this trade. Matteo, if you want to comment them and throw them up, be my guest. But noteworthy that they made a move, and also Detroit goes from 7 goalies to 6.
They're now in single digits for the amount of goalies they have under NHL contract.
Eyes are playing. Oh, future considerations. Shit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like the only like reaction I have from that literally has nothing to do with Ville Husso.
Right.
The only amount of success that team has had is because of how good Dostal's been. Like that's
right,
it.
But the real headline is,
does Gibson finally get fucking moved, dude?
What's up with Gibson? Right. Where's the spot?
It's like it's every year. Like it's every year. It's like Gibson.
Cosgrove.
Oh my god. It's like, could this possibly be the year that move finally happens? I gotta tell you, if you're another team, you better be very fucking careful what you're giving up, because like John Gibson, yeah, he has his moments. Has he? And I know he's in Anaheim, so it's like impossible to be like a fucking top 5 goalie in the league every year. But like, has he had one full season? Oh, Gibson's hurt. There you go. There, that's why.
How bad is he hurt though? I knew there was an injury, but I didn't think it was like meaningful. Now I'm gonna look it up.
But well, either way, is this the year that Gibson gets moved finally? Like,
I've been a big, like, up until like maybe a year or two ago, like I was the biggest John Gibson hardo. Like I thought he was so good, so underutilized there. Not even, because I don't care if he's from Pittsburgh, because I'm not from Pittsburgh, so like who fucking cares? But like I very much wanted him to go back to Pittsburgh. Like I was so hard on that train, and he's just like, it's crazy. How old do you think he is?
He's old, dude. He's like, what, 33?
Wait, which 31?
Is he 31?
Am I doing that the right way?
I sworn he was older. Maybe that's just how long.
That's the whole mirror thing, but yeah, he's 31, and I thought he was older.
I'll be honest with you. There was a small part of me that almost let 36 come out of my mouth.
No, if I had to guess, I was going to go 35, 36, and I probably would have said 36 just because, isn't that his number?
Yes.
It is, yes. Nailed that. I'm so good. No, like, he, at his peak, dude, like, he was such a good goalie. Like, if you told me 5 years ago that, like, this Four Nations thing was happening and that he wasn't even in the discussion to be one of the goalies, I would have laughed at you. Like, he's not. And granted, it's not all his fault, but like there's been times where it's also been like, dude, I don't care what help you have, like you don't look great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
And the injury history is definitely what makes it difficult for him to be traded. But like, I don't know, dude. I want to see him go somewhere and have a chance, even if it's as a backup or a 1A, 1B kind of thing. Like, get him somewhere else just so we can know whether or not he could do something else.
How many years is it? Is this his last year in the contract, or does he have another couple? I don't even know what his contract. I don't even know when it's up. Because, like, let's say this is the last year of his contract, or next year is. Like, that's what I'm like less. Well, obviously, like, you're not gonna give up the farm in general, but like,
Puck PD, he might have 2 more years.
Yeah.
Because it says expiry status 2027, age 33. So yeah, I would think he's got after this the 25, 26, and then 26, 27. So that makes it tougher.
Yeah, I mean, you balance it with the cap going up, but you already have a net if you're making a move for him.
Well, also Anaheim's gonna eat money on that deal because they can. Also, they're like flirting with a playoff spot, and at the same time, like flirting with a top 5 pick. It's like very funny the position they're in.
They stink.
And who knows where they're gonna end up, dude? You know what my like dread is? Fucking. This is the year that like top 4 matters, right? Like you need to be in the top 4 of this draft. If you like if you end up somewhere in the 5 to 10 range, it's like, God damn, I just barely missed out. Pittsburgh's going to finish 5. That's what it's going to be. Just outside of me getting like the guy, you know?
I'm willing to bet that like those top 4 that we talk about as like consensus top 4 guys is absolutely not around the league. Like this is what happens. Like, it almost never happens this way where it's like pretty much any like scouting outlet that you go and look at their like whatever top however many picks you want to throw in there, It never winds up going that way anyways. Like last year we see Anaheim go out and take Seneca 3. Like it always winds up that way.
Not always, really. Like that felt like a pretty weird one to me. Like the only other one that like, and again, you called it, was Wright falling. But again, he still like was in that tier. Like it's not like someone like crazily jumped him. Seneca was the one where it's like, oh damn, like he jumped out of nowhere. Like name another, like what's the most recent example you have of a guy that's like jumped up out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all knew what was going to happen, but I wouldn't have taken Slavkovsky 1. Like,
but that was the same draft though. Like Slavkovsky was in that top 4 discussion. It's not like he went from 8 to number 1 or 8 to like 3 and pushing someone out. Like Seneca, by and large, like that was a very weird one. No, not saying it was like a bad pick or anything, but like that's like, I can't think of one recently where someone jumped into the top 3, top 4, top 5, like out of like being closer to a number 10 pick.
yeah.
Like, do you have another example? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just can't think of one.
Give me 2 seconds, actually. I need the list in front of me. I just know every year it always happens, though. That's what I'm saying.
Cosgrove, when will things start going the Penguins' way in the draft? Snake bit.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. I have no reason to complain. It's more just like funny that like they're dog shit and they'll still be just outside of getting a guy I want, you know? Or they'll get a good guy and they'll trade him away for Ruck McGroarty, who gets his face caved in.
No.
You know, I feel bad. I don't hate Ruck McGroarty at all. It's just the situation that bothers me. But yeah, what can we do? I gotta ask, do you think, like, with what's happening in the league, you see the Kachucks, right? We've seen the Tom Wilson effect. We've seen the Ryan Leonard effect, and we're going to see it even more probably come this spring. Do you think that Porter Martone ends up going 1 or 2 just because people are like, I need a big boy who has a chance of becoming one of these maniacs?
Well, there's always a chance because he's in that first overall discussion.
Okay, not a chance. Like, do you think that that's like a very like this shit could happen?
Oh yeah, but and like when I talk about this draft and like someone going in the top 5 that I wouldn't put there, like that's when we start talking about like you guys just had Scott Wheeler on. He was talking about how good Caleb Desnoyers is, and like Craig Button has Frondell at 2. A lot other people have Frondell at 2, 3, 4 in general too. Like
but Desnoyers plays in the queue. Like that's not even a real league.
He's really fucking good. But like that's more so what I'm saying. Where it's just like one of those guys. I can almost guarantee one of the guys that you and me talk about is like consensus top 4. Well, I would be shocked if one of them wasn't there at 5.
Dude. Mateo's got a real dagger here. I think Leonard has a better chance of making the Olympic team than Boyum. I disagree, but I love the angle. Like, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But let's round it out here then. We've got to do a little bit of prospect talk, courtesy of our great friends, Minnesota Wild Young Guns, Minnesota Wild Prospects. You can find them as either across social media. Our boy Baki does a great job. I know he's not alone running the page, but shout out Baki. Z, this is going to be more of an open discussion, and this is actually one that you wanted to get into. Who do we think among Minnesota Wild prospects has a chance of contending for an NHL job next season? Let's work through it. Do you want to do we want to go like in order? Do we want to do this like tier rankings, or are we just going to go through random guys and talk about how likely or unlikely they are to be able to make a push for a spot?
Well, I mean, I think it makes sense to kind of start with guys that like probably consensus.
I mean, I think there's 2 between 2 and 5 that you could say are like fringe consensus, but there's 2 that feel like no shit picks to me. Who would the 2 be for you?
2 obvious ones to me are Yurov and Buyum.
those are not the two names I had. So this is very interesting to me. They were in my list of 5. They weren't in my 2 that I'm like, they're on the team.
Yeah.
Okay. In fairness, maybe it's because we're viewing prospect differently.
Mm-hmm.
For me, prospect is a guy that's not a full-time NHLer right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wallstedt and Ogren are no shit NHL.
That was my next question. Do you like, where do you put Ogre in this conversation?
Yeah, because he's not a full-time NHLer, is he?
Right.
But okay, Wallstedt, do you agree that he's more likely than Yurov and Boyum?
That's a good point because the contract. The fact that Fleury's not coming back.
And Fleury's gone, right? Like
he has to be.
It's not even like, oh, Wallstedt has to be there because he's playing so well. Like, no, he's not. But like the contract and Fleury being gone, what else do you do? So for me, it's Wallstedt and Ogren. It's the Swedes. But I do think the next 2 up for discussion, like you said, are Yurov and Boyum, which if we're going like straight up, haven't sniffed the NHL yet.
That's where I was
going, guys.
Yeah.
So like, I get that. But I mean, if we were to do a top prospects list, kind of like Wheeler did, like he had both Ogren and Wallstedt on his list.
Yeah, I think like for me, I was more so going with like guys that haven't
fresh
meat the NHL because they can't or whatever.
Sure.
Where it gets interesting though is just like
who do you
given
think,
the contracts that are here, like, but players are gonna have to leave for like because I do think there's a 4, 5, 6 guys that have legit shots that aren't full-time NHL guys or have never played for Minnesota yet.
Right.
That like either have legit shots or I think we could pencil in potentially, but there are roster moves that have to get made. Like
100%.
That's what I mean. So like, it's interesting. The conversation around like a guy like Year.
How deep is the list? How many players do you think are in the discussion for having a shot? And I'm not saying like a 5 or 10% shot. I'm saying like at least a 25 or 30% shot of making the team. How many players do you think are on that list? And we're going to say that includes the Wallstedts and the Ogrens out there.
Yeah. So I'll like just going down that list. Wallstedt, yes. Ogren, yes. Yurov, yes. Boyum, yes. Then it's where it gets interesting, where it's like, for me personally, I think fucking Riley Heidt plays in the AHL next season.
I think so too. I think it's very unlikely that he starts in the NHL, but I could absolutely see him making them like putting them in a spot where they have no choice but to bring him up because of him torching.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's still a guy that absolutely belongs on the list of could make the team.
He's on the list of guys that like is getting a legit look in preseason. Like they are absolutely watching him every second of preseason, being like, is he on the team or not?
I'm surprised you brought him up before one other name.
Well, like another guy would be like Carson Lambos.
I'm shocked that that's the name you went with.
Just out there, because again, like not enough spots at all. But like dude, he's been really. I think he's been. Every time I watch him in the AHL this season, he's been so fucking good. And especially given the fact that his roles evolve. No. I'm just like, I just brought him up.
Okay.
They're like in an interesting spot with him specifically.
Sure.
Where it's like, I've just been impressed by his transition from what type of defenseman he was playing in WHL, what he had to adapt to become in the AHL. And I mean, the fact that like he was potentially going to get his first NHL game this season. Like they've already thought of him like as being pretty close, / potentially ready to at least get a sniff, depending on like injuries and everything. Right. The fact that he was one of those guys that like they called up, that tells me something. And then there's a couple like forwards, like guys like.
Hang on, let's stop on Lambos because I won't say this is a hot take at all, but I don't want this because I love Carson Lambos. I think he's a guy that gets traded. He's
an interesting trade bait guy that could give you a decent return. Yeah.
He is Minnesota's version of David Jiricek. Mm-hmm. Like another team is going to see him and be like, this guy's got the pedigree. Like he can do it. He just needs to be in the right environment, right situation. I could see teams being willing to like have him be a notable piece in a trade.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to like about how other teams do look at him. Cause like, if you don't if you haven't watched him for like 4 or 5 years, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's coming into his draft year. He's looked at like, again, like this is draft minus 1 year. He's looked at for the next season's potential top 10 pick, potential top 5 pick. Draft year doesn't go well given COVID, the bad injury that he had, / like illness that he had that kept him out of almost the full season. Goes late first round, misses out on World Juniors, goes to Iowa. Iowa's a shit show. Does not produce offensively because he doesn't get used offensively. So it's interesting when you look at like what his pedigree was going to the draft when he got drafted versus how do other teams look at him now? Like how closely do teams watch? Have they been watching him for like 4 or 5 years? That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree. But here's my issue. The name I said before, who is firmly my number 5, we gave our top 4, right? Like we're pretty in line on who the top 4 are for spots. David Jiricek needs to be in the NHL next year.
I should have mentioned him too. Yeah.
They traded for him. They made it clear that he is part of their future with the move that they made. And I think that he's absolutely capable. I don't know what moves are going to be made to accommodate that, but that just tells me that Carson Lambos is even further down the lineup. And that's why I'm more confident that he's getting moved. I don't think he should, but I think based on timing, like, dude, if David Jiricek's not in the NHL next year, he's going to be fucking pissed.
Yeah, no, I should have mentioned. Yeah, no, I should have thrown. Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
I'm not saying that
every once in a while I forget that they traded for. Like, I'm like, oh my god, I keep forgetting about this.
But it's less a criticism of being like, oh, why didn't you bring him up?
It's good
like,
here.
That's why I'm worried about Lambos's place with this team because
for sure,
either of them making the team as currently constructed is going to be fucking hard.
Yeah.
But now you've got 2 of them fighting, and I think Jiricek's clearly the preferred guy over Lambos. It just means Lambos is going to have a couple more years before he even gets a sniff. That's why I think between him welcoming a change and the Wild wanting to make a big swing, maybe not this year, but next year at the trade deadline, Lambos seems primed to be included in that. I'm not thrilled about it, but that's if I had to like pull out the orb, that's my guess of what'll happen.
Yeah.
But I do like the way he's played, and I think that he absolutely deserves a shot. I'm with you on that for sure.
Well, it's funny too, because like when we were talking about this, like bringing up this topic today, like what was that yesterday we talked about? Like we were texting about what we were gonna talk about today. Like the guys that I like was like William Jiricek and like Yurov. Those are like the guys that I'm going to start this conversation with. And I just forgot to fucking mention Jiricek because I immediately went from the guys I'm like, yeah, shoe in, / like whatever. Then I was like, Lambos is probably ready to get a sniff or like get a look.
You know what though? So we've exhausted the defense though, right? Like that's as far as we can really go talking defensive prospects because no one else is going to get a sniff if those guys don't.
Mm-hmm.
What other forwards? Because Riley Heidt, again, like I think we're on the same page that AHL is likely his starting point, but they're going to give him every chance. Ron says Hunter Haight. I'm not sure how the team feels about him. I do like the way he could potentially fit. I think depending on how things shake out, I'm curious to see how the season ends and if he gets a sniff. Caden Bankier is a guy that I'm not going to ignore.
So that's where
he can play anywhere, right?
That's where I was going to go with that specific. Like, so when you look at again, I'm thinking next year specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The top of the lineup, probably there's enough guys there that like,
right.
That's why I'm fully confident Riley Heidt plays in the AHL next season. Even like,
you don't think he can play third line?
I mean, he could. I'm even more so beyond that. Like, they still have a lot of contracts locked up.
Yeah.
They're going to be here.
Well, not when they trade Rossi, right?
Yeah. But like, I do think there will be openings for like 4th line roles. So guys like Caden Bankier, Mikey Milne, like guys that are there that again,
shout out everyone go watch the Mikey Milne interview on Fellowship of the Rink where he talks about drawing with crayons. He's a beauty.
Such a beauty. Like there are guys like that in Iowa right now that have played well in Iowa since they got there, that like there's just going to be opportunities just in general. There's more 4th line opportunities obviously than like top 6 roles or whatever. But like I would imagine that moves get made between now and the start of next season, like in that bottom six, and guys like Caden Bankier, Mikey Milne, they're gonna get legit looks. Because I mean,
But
we've seen Milne's
Hang on.
already got a game. Like,
do you think
Bankier's
that
there.
Mikey fits? Like, I could see him being a third liner. I can't see Mikey Milne being a fourth liner for an extended period. He doesn't fit that.
I do. I think so. Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I take it
Yeah,
back.
we've talked about him before. Like, as like he's the similar player, like a Connor Dewar type.
I guess.
I mean, Connor Dewar was like ripping apart the WHL when he was there offensively. Like,
No, I'm not challenging the abilities. It's more just like, do you really see him playing that depth kind of like fourth line grinded out role?
Mhm.
Okay, then I stand corrected. Cole, you are absolutely correct. Russo and Joe have basically said that they expect him to be back at Michigan State. I think that that's what everyone wants. Like, I've been very outspoken and just saying, give the boy back-to-back years being in a comfortable environment. Like, this is the first year he's been able to really thrive. Let him go back and do the shit again versus throwing him into another new environment after everything he fucking dealt with in Wisconsin. Sorry, Mike Hastings, that he's not 29 years old. You piece of shit. But is there anyone else we're not thinking of then? Like, I think Haight is a stretch just because I think his play has been up and down. I don't know how the Wild necessarily feel about him today. Not long term, but today. Bankier, I think, is way more fit for a bottom six role, which is where the opportunities are going to be, like we've discussed. Are there other forward prospects that need some time? I don't know.
I think we've probably exhausted, like, as far as guys that
Ones that really could.
Above like a 30-40% chance, yeah. But it would be interesting going down and like doing a deep dive on like review a bunch of these players that we're familiar with now that have been in the pool for a little bit. And then like if we were to figure out a way that they would be in the NHL next season, like then doing the math and like the roster moves that would have to happen. That's always like that's a full fucking show in and of itself. So
yeah,
that's that right now.
Honestly, the day that the Wild get eliminated, we'll do like
the full summer.
We'll do a whole postmortem, and then the next week after that is going to be, what the fuck is Guerin going to do this summer? Yeah. I think my big question too, just because this season hasn't been awesome, and I know the Wild are in a weird spot given contractual limitations with a guy from this nation, but I don't think anyone's thrilled with Murat Huznadinov's play. Like, how safe is his job next season? Like, is in your mind, and I won't say lock 100%, but like, let's be a little bit looser. Like, do you think there's greater than an 80% chance that he is like in the lineup all of next year, or at least not like threatened to be sent down or whatever, or put in the press box long term? Like, is he going to play the majority of games next year with the Wild if he's healthy?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like, because I mean, right before the Four Nations, there was a stretch of like 8 games where he was just actually trying to make plays offensively, scored goals, like made some, scored 8 goal, I guess. Had some
S, no plurality.
No, who did he like? There was one assist that he had that was ridiculous. There was like he like won the puck on the forecheck and did a spinorama assist. I forget who scored, but like we've seen the flashes of it. I think it was crazy to be like, well, actually, if you're just saying like, yeah, maybe in the AHL, like giving up. I was going more so like giving up or whatever. But
I'm not.
No, I still think he's your 4C next year.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's all I had. Shit. I think that's it. I think we
It's a long one.
did the thing. Yeah. back on our old bullshit.
Last thing I gotta say though, did you see the fucking 3-game sussy for Zegras?
We're talking about that. Let's go.
Holy fuck, was that a bad hit? And he didn't get a penalty on the play. It was like so late, and he got all chin. Like it was insane how bad of a hit that was.
Let's go a different direction on this though.
Hartman would be thrown in jail.
No, right, but
sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, you're not wrong. But for me, the real question is, have you seen a player who went from the highest of highs with hype to literally like no one talks about him anymore?
No.
Like his decline was so fast. I don't think I've seen that with another player in the past decade. Like,
dude, like and
anyone in the chat, let me know. Like, is there a player that declined as quickly as Zegras, who was literally at the top of the game? Every kid wanted to be Trevor Zegras, and now, like, sometimes I
like
forget
literally, is he going to be on the cover of NHL next year? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and now it's like, is he going to be in the NHL game next year?
Dude, like the exclamation point is like because of the stupid NHL All-Star game rule thing where every team gets a player or whatever. He didn't get invited to that fucking one in Vegas. They actually got him to show up. He threw the blindfold on in the shootout.
This is awesome.
Had easily the sickest fucking shootout goal in that fucking whole thing. And the minivan man, Alex Pietrangelo, who didn't even score, fucked his whole thing up. Won. And he got, I think, how much money did he win for winning that thing? And Zegras, again, was not invited to the All-Star weekend other than that one thing. One fucking event. Easily had the sickest one. Didn't win. And now here we are.
Did the Vegas Golden Knights ruin Trevor Zegras?
Oh my God.
And did they do it because they're going to trade for him and he's going to come in and torch?
Yeah.
That's the real move. That's the real 7D chess. Like,
God Lord.
I don't think they're ruining McTavish and Carlson. I think they're just in a weird spot where, like, I think in 2 years they could be interesting. And I don't know.
It's not with Cronin on the bench.
But I'm going to pass to you on this because, like, you're way higher on this kid than me, even though I think he's sick. But, like, dude, Carlson was, like, your number one draft son that year, and he vaulted in the draft, and kudos to you. But, like, how good is this kid? He was wasn't he the youngest kid at the Four Nations?
Mm-hmm. He's sick. Like, again, last year was, they did that thing where they like would scratch him for a couple games, let him play one. And so like he put up 29 points in 55 games. This year they're actually letting him play. So he's got 22 points in 50 games. He's a +2 rating on the fucking Anaheim team. But I mean, he's got size, he's got scoring touch. He's really good defensively. He's a big center I fucking love watching him play hockey. I think he's incredible. I don't think Anaheim does anything with Greg Frona behind the bench. Honestly, if you told me that he had already been fired and I wasn't paying attention, I'd believe you because he should get fired. I don't think fucking
fired, so
there you go. Did he? I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I pay zero attention to the Ducks. Like,
no,
the last couple of years.
No, I know he didn't get fired.
Like, because hang on. Part of it is like I got a kid, so I can only like watch so much hockey. So I'm not like nearly as 32 teams as I used to be. But like, even if I was, year after year, and I'm nowhere near like Jesse's level of like trying to support the Ducks, but like every year I'm like, they could make a jump this year. They got these names, they're gonna be good. Year after year, they just are beyond disappointing. I'm just like so disinterested with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not worth my time. So I have not watched nearly enough of them this year. I have no idea what's going on there. They, out of the 32 teams, they have to be in my top 5 of teams that I just like. I would be lying if I tried to sit here and tell you anything confidently about what their outlook is or how their season's been. They are not great for me.
They're not good. They've been really good in the last 10 games.
Keep doing it. I need Pittsburgh to get in the top 4, please.
Yeah. No, yeah, I love Leo Carlson. I don't think they do. Like none of them like playing for Greg Cronin. He's not today's NHL coach. Like it's just not going to work with a young roster. Like young roster has legit. Like the young players on that Anaheim Ducks team / players that are going to be there the next couple of years are fucking insanely high upside, really fucking good. He's not the fucking coach for those guys.
No, but they know that.
Yeah, but like Verbeek's your GM, so it's just like, okay, well, what's gonna who's gonna fucking bring in next after Cronin? Like,
I have the answer.
Babcock again. Come back to Babcock.
Do you know what the right answer is? Who's the fixer? We've seen it this year. It's the only hint you get. Pick a team that is drastically overperforming. A coach that has made his teams drastically overperform for the last 3 or 4 years.
Dino?
Yeah,
well, they're never going to let him leave Columbus at this point.
No, they will at some point.
Yeah, it's every coach. Yeah, it's true.
But, like, Dean is the ultimate. Like, he will coach as long as he wants because every team that needs to turn their shit around, he's the guy they're going to grab. Like, I feel bad saying this because it's nothing against him, but I don't think Dean's ever going to be the guy that wins the cup. I think he's the guy that takes a dog shit team, makes them borderline competitive, and then the next guy comes in that gets him over the hump, and then he goes and fixes another team. Like, good for him. It's a pretty good gig. I don't know. Like, we were high on what he could do with Columbus, and they've still outperformed what we thought.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, there you go. Mateo just throw out there. That's if David Carl were to leave Denver. If I'm David Carl, I'm not taking the fucking Rangers job. I'm not taking any of those jobs.
I don't think he's taking the Ducks job.
I
think he waits for the Colorado job.
I am not David Carl. I am a huge loser. I'm wrong about everything.
All valid.
But what if I was like, and that's it. That's all I had to say. But like, when I look at what he's got going at Denver right now, yes, there's going to be NHL teams being like, we'll let you come in right now. We'll give you 5-year contract, $5, $6, $7 million.
I'm taking nothing less than an 8-year deal.
I'm not doing that, dude. I am not. Like, no fucking way.
He's set.
I know. If I'm him, I'm probably staying with what I got now, dude. He's making fucking.
Hang on, though. Very smart of him to get out after back-to-back World Juniors and not go back next year as the World Juniors coach because he's like, yeah, it's not going to happen, and I'm just going to keep my record intact,
dude. And after
I want to.
And after the Natty last year goes on tickets and being like, yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll go to the NHL if there's, if a team gives me a good offer that I care. I'm like, this guy fucking gets it.
If one guy goes into the transfer portal, that's all it takes.
Yeah, dude.
Plus, dude, Zeev leaving, like we saw what happened when Zeev was gone. UNLV beat him. So, like, maybe he should get out while the getting's good.
I don't know, man.
Shit! But I think that's all we got. We just hit the 2-hour mark.
That was it. we barely had enough content.
That's all we have. I led off with some great references and quotes. Z, you end us on a good one. So Mateo can send us off into the sunset.
Oh man! Every week I come in knowing that I should have something prepared at the end, and I just don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a good one. So Mateo, despite the intro just staying on, which I thought that was down, we're headed for a very funny fucking path with the fucking intro music thing.
I had to manually turn it off because Isha would have gotten very mad. So
1 minute in, first merit, I was like, this is gonna be so funny. Mateo.
He's been lights out since.
You nailed it. So you just do it again. hit us with the exit. We'll see everyone next week.